Armenia is one of the world's oldest countries. Although its size and shape has fluctuated over the years, its influence is felt around the world. It was the first country to adopt Christianity, and its mountainous landscape is dotted with ancient churches and monasteries. Its small size and stunning countryside lends itself to the perfect road trip country. I rented a car for a few days to draw a big circle through the center of the country, trying to see some of the main historic sites that have shaped this legendary region. In part 2 of my road trip, I start in Khor Virap and then continue my journey around the interior of Armenia, checking out different monasteries and ultimately ending up at Lake Svan. And here's how it went. Good morning, guys. It's about 7:30 a.m. and we just have this beautiful blue sky morning, and you can see Mount Ararat and Little Ararat out of my bedroom window, and they're perfectly in sight. So I'm gonna drive just about 2 miles down the road to Khor Virap. But last night was so cute, hanging out with this local, felt like a grandma and grandpa just in this small little Armenian village, and he was showing me his sculptures, paintings, and then brought out some old maps of Armenia and the region, and it was just such a cool local authentic experience. They don't speak any English, but it was just so cute. So let's head down the road. Since the sky is so clear, we should get this beautiful view of the monastery with the mountain in the distance. So let's jump in the car and go. So I'm driving towards Khor Virap Monastery right now, and Mount Ararat is just right behind it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. We have this beautiful morning, and the monastery is just framed right beneath it. So it's just this great place to stop and get a picture of the monastery just framed with the mountain in the background. I also flew my drone here and just got some beautiful aerial shots of the monastery. And then I'm gonna keep my telephoto lens on because I think just a little further up, there's a spot where you get the monastery framed right behind Little Ararat. So let's keep driving towards the monastery. All right, guys, kind of strange, but went off the main road here into this graveyard a little bit, and there's a pin on my map that the monastery is perfectly framed by Ararat in this graveyard, and it is. So I'm gonna climb this hill a little bit and get this beautiful view of the Little Ararat and the monastery. Amazing views, and with the telephoto there, the monastery is brought right to the mountain. It kind of compresses that shot for us, and just amazing. So let's jump back in the car and head to actually see the monastery up close. I've just entered the courtyard of the Khor Virap monastery here, and there's this large stone church in the middle here, and we have this nice little courtyard, and then over to the left when you enter is this little viewing platform where you just get stunning views looking out over the Armenian countryside, seeing the Ararats off in the distance. And then there's a couple little chapels around the corners, and this monastery is notably located on the place that Gregory the Illuminator, the saint who brought Christianity to Armenia, was imprisoned for 13 years. And then in one of the corner chapels here, I think you can go down and see a little bit of the cave or the prison where Gregory the Illuminator was. So gonna just enjoy the views here, wander around, see a little bit of the chapels. Guys, let's head into the main chapel here that's in the center of the monastery complex. And there's this beautiful wooden door and nice stone carvings along the edge. But let's head in and see what it looks like inside. So I've just come into the main cathedral here in the Khor Virap monastery, and you just have these big arching stone walls. You have a couple chandeliers, some paintings that add a little bit of color to the wall, and there's not a lot of like design or features to the walls, but you just have these paintings. Yeah, just a nice domed Armenian church. So let's head out, and then I want to check out that chapel that's in the back corner because I think that's where the cave was where he was imprisoned. I've just entered the chapel in the back left corner of the complex here, and then when you enter, it's this small little chapel, a little bit of artwork, and then the back right corner, there's this staircase that takes you deep beneath the chapel, so I'm gonna check that out. Although it looks very claustrophobic, so we'll see. Just made it down the stairs, so I'm beneath the monastery now, and it's this spooky little dungeon, and at least it's well lit by the chandelier, but it's kind of creepy down here. But I'm assuming that this is the prison that Gregory the Illuminator was imprisoned for 13 years. Yeah, kind of spooky, but kind of cool that we're like beneath the whole church complex here. Oh, and you can hear the church bells going now. That's cool. Cool monastery, cool history, and just the story of the prison there and going down into the cave. It was kind of spooky, and it was so steep going down there. I couldn't imagine being stuck down there for 13 years. Anyways, just come out of the monastery here, and further up the hill on this big rock, there's an Armenian flag and a cross. And so you can hike up there and get a view looking back down on the monastery and a view of the surrounding mountains. So let's head up there and check it out. So I've just made it up the little hill to the flagpole here, and I'm really glad I waited until this morning to do this hike and not yesterday because it was raining and cloudy. And then I'm also glad I got up really early because Mount Ararat is already starting to cloud over a little bit, and I was getting some nice views of it earlier this morning. And so from up here you can just see 360-degree views of the Armenian countryside, the mountains, and then looking back down on the monastery that we just came up from is kind of cool with the fields in the background. So very beautiful views, very cool little spot here. Anyways, that's about it for Khor Virap Monastery. I'm gonna drive back to the bed and breakfast soon. They're gonna have some breakfast, maybe I'll take a shower, and then we'll continue on with our road trip around Armenia. So yeah, let's jump back in the car and get some breakfast. Bye. Spasiba, thank you. Let's just had a nice little breakfast at my bed and breakfast here, and just saying goodbye to the wonderful guests that I had here in this small little village of Armenia, and I'm gonna continue on with the road trip. I have about an hour and a half drive or so, should be mostly along the highway here to keep heading south in Armenia to the Khor monasteries. So let's jump back in the car and keep on with the road trip. Just had about an hour and a half drive from that little village through Armenia, which is one of the wine regions of Armenia, and it was really beautiful. And then I came up this little narrow gorge that has these red rock cliffs around me and up to the end, and I've made it to Khor Monastery, which has these two big chapels up here. There's like a big graveyard here and just a big like open gardens, and we're just surrounded by these beautiful red cliffs, and there's some caves and everything up in the cliffs up here. And this monastery was built in the 12th century. One of the reasons it's kind of famous here is it actually has 2 stories to the main chapel here. So there's the staircase on the outside, and you can climb up and see the second story of the monastery. So yeah, let's explore these churches, explore these grounds. I'm just outside of the main church here, and unfortunately it looks like they've closed off the stairs to the second level. You used to be able to climb up those stairs, which are super narrow, but it looked really fun going up into the second chapel. But let's go down to the bottom floor and see what it looks like inside. Not too much in the bottom floor of this chapel, so I wish we could have gone up to the second floor, but there is this second chapel over here, so let's go see what that's like. That second chapel was actually really cool inside. There were so many carvings all along the wall, all along the ceiling, and there was like an altar there on the ground. There were a bunch of like tombstones, and then in the altar room there was just smoke from the incense that was burning. And then all along the edge on the inside and the outside of these cathedrals, you'll just see tons of little and big and medium crosses carved into the walls here, and those are from the pilgrims that have come here for the last like 1,000 years that used to leave their mark by just drawing a cross on the church there. And along this monastery there's just all these like little hiking paths that you can go on. You can kind of hike along some of the rocks and everything here to get different views, different vantage points. I'm just gonna hike around a little bit up here just to kind of see the churches with some of the cliffs in the background, but I don't have too much time because we still have to go way up over the mountain pass to the lake this afternoon. So yeah, let's just wander around a little bit and then we'll head out. So that was the Noravank monastery up here, and again, just beautiful setting amongst all of these red cliff faces and up high on this gorge, and it was just a beautiful drive to get here. So I'm gonna head back to the car, and there's some caves that you can explore on the way out of here at the bottom of the gorge here. I don't think I'm gonna bother. I think you have to pay a couple extra dollars, and I want to kind of keep moving because I know my timing can get away from me because I still have about 3 hours of total driving today, and I want to stop at other little like historic sites along the way. But the caves at the bottom here are thousands of years old, and one of the first places that they ever found wine, and that's near Armenia, where the wine region is. So it's where you can get some really good wine. There's some cool wine tasting at the bottom of the gorge here, and again, you can see the caves with the oldest wineries there. But yeah, let's jump back in the car. I think I'm just gonna pass through there, and we're gonna go up over this mountain pass and head towards Lake Svan and see what we see along the way. There should be some other monasteries and historic sites. So yeah, let's go. I've just been driving for the last 45 minutes up this mountain pass here, and I'm at about 8,000 feet, and there's just this beautiful view overlooking the valley that we just came from, and you can see some snow-capped mountains over here. And then there's this old caravanserai built in the 1330s, and it was an inn for travelers that were coming up from this valley up into the mountains for trade or for transportation, and it was a place that they could sleep after coming all this way. Again, we're up like 8,000 feet, so it would have been a pretty steep journey. So it looks like we can head in here and just check out what this old caravanserai looked like. Alright, and right out here, the only other thing that's here besides this old inn is there's this old guy selling some souvenirs on an old Russian car. So let's go check this out.
Hello. Mini market.
Okay. These are nice.
Here.
Beautiful views up here, really cool old historic site. Got some cool drone shots of this winding road that's coming up the pass, and I have probably about 20 miles still until I hit Lake Svan, but hopefully once I get over this pass I'll start seeing this iconic lake in Armenia, and then yeah, we'll just drive around the lake and see what else we find along our way to the Svan monastery. But yeah, jump back in the car and continue our road trip. Just driven about an hour and a half from Noravank up over the mountain pass, and we've finally made it to Lake Svan, which is this beautiful massive lake in the middle of Armenia, and it's about 40 miles long, so it's a really huge lake. There's some mountains off in the distance on the other side that you can see. And so the rest of our road trip today, we're going to be driving right along the coast of this lake for the next we have about 30 or 40 more miles to make it to the little town of Svan. All along the lake, there's some old historic sites here, some monasteries, some castles, so I'll stop if I see anything along the way. And right here at the first stop, I saw some old stone homes. There's an old church, and everything here. And then there's this kind of nice view of not the beach, but like a little cove of the lake here. I was just driving along the lake here, and there's this really random abandoned like train car here, which I don't even think there's a railroad track here, so it seems so random, but it's got a bunch of graffiti and all rusted out with the lake in the background, so let's go check it out. This is just the strangest thing. There's like absolutely no train tracks anywhere near here, and there's just this train car that's completely abandoned. It's all graffiti and it's just all a mess inside. Really, I don't understand, but really cool with like the blue lake and the mountains off in the distance. Yeah, cool little place to explore, I guess. Another reason why I love road trips is you just never know what you'll see along the side of the road, and I love abandoned graffiti stuff, so that was a really cool little find here. So yeah, let's keep driving, see what else we find. I've just made it to Khor Monastery here, and it's perched up on these rocks overlooking Lake Svan, and it's just beautiful, and it has this like burnt orange look to it, kind of like rusted, but then there's all this like orange lichen on the rocks all around here, and there's a bunch of gravestones. The church is just basically surrounded by this like cemetery of these orange engraved gravestones. And the chapel was built in the 9th century AD. And yeah, just again, these places, these monasteries are just built in some of the most beautiful places here. You just have amazing views looking over Lake Svan. You can see some of the mountains over on the other side, just this bright blue water. Very cool. So yeah, let's walk around the chapel a little bit here, and then we'll head in to see what it looks like on the inside. To be honest, all the monasteries are starting to all look alike. They all have these similar cross designs carved into the stone, similar style paintings, similar, there's usually like a gallery you enter, and then the altar is kind of in the back. So, but it's just, they're all just in such beautiful natural places. So anyways, about a 15-20 minute drive around the rest of Lake Svan to the actual village of Svan, which is, I think, is where I'm gonna spend the night tonight, right on the lake. And then there's one more monastery that's kind of on this little peninsula on Lake Svan. So let's keep driving around the lake. I've just driven all the way to the north of Svan Lake, and there's this little peninsula here, and on top of the peninsula there's a monastery, a couple cathedrals, a couple chapels. So I've just parked, and I've got to hike up these stairs to the top of this little hill to go check out the monastery. I've just climbed up the hill, up above these two chapels on the Savanavank monastery complex here. We're actually on a peninsula on Svan Lake, but when this was built in the 9th century, it was actually an island on the lake here near the shore. But In the 20th century, Stalin drained the lake here, so the water levels fell about 20 meters, turning this little island into a peninsula that's now connected by land to the mainland of Armenia. There's two main chapels up here, and then you can kind of hike around the hill a little bit up here and just get beautiful views of the lake. And then you have some mountains way off in the distance here, but yeah, beautiful views and very cool old churches. So let's try to head into these before they close for the night and see what they look like on the inside. Alright, very cool. The first chapel, pretty small. It just kind of opens right up into the altar there, but it was a little unique because the altar had this massive wooden sculpture that had very geometric shapes to it, and it was painted that kind of like engulfed the whole altar. So it wasn't just the stone interior that we've been used to seeing. And then, of course, the candles, a couple paintings. But let's see if we can go into the other little chapel up here. So the other chapel is closed, so I won't be able to see inside that one. But up here beyond the chapels, there's a couple little hiking paths, and you can kind of hike around the peninsula a little bit to get some different views of the lake and the churches. So I'm just gonna wander around up here, get some views, and just enjoy being up here above Svan Lake. This is just gorgeous. I'm gonna head back to the town of Svan, where I booked a little hotel for the night. I thought it would be like a cute little town, but just driving through it earlier, it doesn't look that special or that nice. But I'm just gonna hang out for the evening, hang out on the lake, get some dinner, and just enjoy these mountain views. And then tomorrow will be the last day of our road trip through Armenia, and we'll eventually work our way back to Yerevan tomorrow, the capital city, which isn't that far. It's only about an hour-and-a-half drive from here. I've just come the long way, doing a big loop around the interior of the country. But yeah, so we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Good morning, guys. It's about 8 o'clock this morning in the little village of Svan, and it's my last day on my Armenian road trip here, and I have an hour-and-a-half drive back to the Yerevan airport, and I don't have to return the car for another 3 hours. So I have about an hour and a half where I can explore things I see along the way. So yeah, I'm gonna start by heading back towards Yerevan, and there's this alphabet monument that recognizes the founder of the Armenian alphabet, and it has a couple of the letters in this field. So yeah, let's jump in the car and see what that's about and continue with our last day of the road trip. I've just driven like an hour and a half across Armenia, heading towards Yerevan, and here just on the side of the highway and amidst the Armenian countryside and some beautiful mountains is the Armenian Alphabet Memorial Park. And here we just have a bunch of these giant letters from the Armenian alphabet. And if you haven't noticed from this road trip yet, the Armenian alphabet is very distinct, and it has this very curved letters, and it's just very beautiful, and yeah, it just looks so foreign. So this was the final resting place of Mesrop Meshtats, who developed this alphabet 1600 years ago when Armenia became a Christian nation, he was assigned with the task of creating an alphabet so that they could create the Bible in a written context. So yeah, let's just wander around and check out the Armenian alphabet here. So that is the Armenian alphabet. Again, just all around when you're driving, street signs, gas stations, like all of the writing that you see just has these letters, and it's been really cool driving through Armenia and seeing this alphabet. It's just such a foreign way of writing for me. So yeah, and a cool little road trip spot along the highway here. I have about 2 hours before I have to return the car, so there's one more monastery on the way back to the airport that I want to check out. So let's jump back in the car and see if we can squeeze that in before heading back to the airport. So just about a 10-minute drive heading back towards Yerevan from the Armenian alphabet is the Sagmosavan monastery here, which is a 12th century monastery and church, and it's going to be the last stop of our Armenian road trip because after this I'll have to rush back to the airport in Yerevan. But just wanted to check out one last monastery here. It's right on the cusp of this beautiful canyon here, and we just have this nice gorge. We have some mountains just on the other side of the canyon here, and then yeah, just another old Armenian church, which again, they're all starting to kind of look the same, but I am gonna miss just these countryside churches. There's just something so nice and so quaint about it here on just a nice calm morning, beautiful day. But yeah, so let's walk around the grounds here a little bit, because I think one of the most magnificent parts is this canyon that's right behind it, and then we'll head in and check out the church a little bit closer. Beautiful interior there, really high ceilings, and then this high like sky dome that was letting some light in that had just some beautiful intricate designs to the dome, which is a little bit different than a lot of the other churches we've seen. And then there were like multiple altar rooms, and they had these golden chandeliers at the top, and just really beautiful. And my last stop on my Armenian road trip, it's about time to jump back in the car and head back to Zvartnots airport to drop off my rental car. But it was an amazing 2.5 days just driving around Armenia. I loved having a car. It was just so nice to have complete freedom. And I think it's such a small country, so it's never like more than an hour and a half, 2 hours to drive to different locations. And then the roads are never like too busy. You just have these nice country roads and this beautiful landscapes. You have mountains in like almost every direction, and rolling plantations and beautiful farmland. So very beautiful. And yeah, one of the best parts of the road trip is just the drive, honestly, which, I have little clips of, but just being on the open road in Armenia is just so beautiful. And then you'll just stumble across these monasteries that are just in the most beautiful settings here in the Armenian countryside. So yeah, very beautiful trip, a lot of amazing drone footage, and I'm super excited to put this video together to show you guys a road trip through Armenia. But I'm gonna head back to Yerevan. I have a couple more days here in Armenia to show you guys the capital city. So I'll see you guys in Yerevan.